welcome to another edition of the Mad Dogg Mike and Chyef Show, the NCAA Sweet 16 edition of the Mad Dogg Mike and Chyef Show. Mad Dog, it's been a crazy, crazy week in sports, including the NCAA tournament, man. What you think?
Oh, yeah, it's been crazy, man. I have to say, man, I kind of called that some crazy things will be going on with this tournament, man, and so be it. It has happened. It has happened. Probably one of the craziest ones I've seen.
It definitely has. It definitely has. You did, to give you much credit, you did call a couple of these teams.
I finally got something right.
And my bracket was trash. So.
Yeah, I think everybody's bracket is, for the most part, pretty messed up. I still got a couple teams in, and we'll talk about that, like Villanova and Michigan, some other things we'll talk about.
Definitely. Well, my bracket is and was a dumpster fire by the end of Sunday night, man. It was crazy. Like, I was severely humbled by this NCAA tournament. Since we started the podcast, I made a couple of picks. I was feeling good about myself. I made the Super Bowl pick. I made the Duke Carolina, the first game pick. I was feeling great, man. Oh, man, the NCAA tournament said, yeah, brother, you're not as good as you think.
Yeah, I thought you was feeling some type of way about that.
Oh, man, I'm not going to lie. I was hurt. I was hurt a little bit, man, but it's been a crazy tournament, including one historic victory on one side and defeat on the other. And we're going to start off with that. The University of Maryland, Baltimore County, as a 16 seed, defeating the lowly, and I mean lowly, Virginia Cavaliers.
Yes. They breaking records out there with that win. It was actually pretty funny. I was driving around in Charlotte the day after they won, and I saw their bus at the hotel, man. I wanted to get a picture, but I didn't get an opportunity to. Yeah, man, they beat up on them boys, man. They beat up on the Cavaliers. We talked about, issues that we had with Virginia coming into the tournament.
We did.
But in the first round?
Yeah.
Really, bro?
That's... Hey, we're not gonna have a really bro this week,
but they close.
But they might have to be really bro next week. I mean, because I believe the record for number one teams was like 135 and 0 in the first round.
Right.
The record, I'm sorry, for number one seeds against 16 seeds was 135 victories to 0 defeats until now. Man, it was crazy. I actually tuned into the game. It was 21-21 at halftime. And I was like, okay. It's tied at halftime. And, Virginia had not allowed over 70 points in the game. And there had been a certain amount of games, I think maybe like 20 or 22 or something like that, 21, in which they hadn't even allowed 53 points in the game. Mm-hmm. They allowed 53 points in the second half of that game.
Right, number one defense in NCAA. That did not show in this game. I think a key point that I noticed was, Maryland, Baltimore County did not give Virginia the chance to really set up on defense. They just came down and they just started shooting. They got the shots that they wanted when they wanted, and I don't think anyone really saw this coming out of them boys. They made shots. They were 12 for 24 from 3-point range. 50%. So I think Virginia's strength was definitely the defense. But I think the strength in their defense is that slow down kind of game. How they would slow everything down. They would give their defense a chance to set up. But, Baltimore County did not give the Virginia defense a chance to set up. As soon as they, got over half court, they were putting that ball up. And I think that was the key to their victory.
Well, definitely. And not to take anything away from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, but obviously, Virginia on the defensive end did not have a good day. Baltimore County was able to break down Virginia's defense with the drive. They were able to knock down timely three-pointers. The point guard was able to get into the lane basically at will. Also, the two guard, I think he ended up, I don't remember his name, but I think he ended up with like 28 points, something like that in the game. So that dribble penetration broke down their defense. And then I think, you know, after they got up about 15 or 16 points, I just feel like Virginia's will was broken. But we talked about that. You know, we talked about how they have a history of getting into the tournament and, you know, getting put out in the first, you know, either in the first round or the second round. I mean, they barely even make it to the Sweet 16. So, you know, much credit to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. They did a great job. You know, they believe they can win. And, you know, at the end of the day, anytime, you know, any competitor will tell you, and you played college basketball, Mad Dog, so I'm sure, you know, anytime your team and yourself, you stepped on the court, you have to believe you're going to win, no matter who you're playing against.
Oh, yeah, of course. And the same goes for UMBC. I'm sure, you know, they felt that, you know, they were going to win, and obviously they showed it on the court. You know, I think this is a tournament of two halves. Each game, everyone starts off the first half. It's a really close, tight-knit game. It seems like they're trying to figure themselves out. And then it seems like one team usually comes out in the second half and just has a different demeanor, a different will, kind of like they figure things out. And that's what it really seemed like in this game. It's going on, again, a lot in the tournament. I think, you know, it was just all will out of, you know, Baltimore County. They just kind of shocked Virginia. Virginia was on their heels the whole second half, and it just seems like it was, you know, they got what they wanted, and I think that, you know, their will just you know, outmatched Virginia's defense.
Well, I definitely have to agree with you. The NCAA tournament as a whole is it's a tournament. In the games that you play, it's a tournament of adjustments. Like you said, from half to half and from game to game, because when you're in the tournament, and a lot, you know, I know you've heard this before, the tournament is about a clash of styles. You know, different, you know, you play different teams. Like when you play teams in your conference or in your division within your conference, you kind of know these teams. But when you're placed in the NCAA tournament situation, you're playing teams from different conferences, from different parts of the country. So styles clash all the time. So it's a competition of styles. And really at the end of the day, what happens is whoever adjusts to the type of style that they're playing, or you know, whoever makes the best or the better adjustments game within the game ends up winning. And as you said, Maryland, Baltimore County, they were able to make the adjustments. You know, we talked about Hunter being hurt from Virginia. That may have had and I believe it was DeAndre Hunter, correct?
DeAndre Hunter, yeah.
We talked about DeAndre Hunter being hurt and, you know, breaking his wrist and not being able to play in that game. That may have had an effect, but
I don't think too much.
Oh, no.
I don't think too much.
And what I was going to say was, I mean, but there, I mean, really as a number one seed, you know, there's no excuse to lose that game. They should have, at the very least, won that game and moved on. But all the credit, salute to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, for pulling out. And hey, it wasn't a last second type of deal.
Sure.
I mean, they won that game by 20 points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely it was definitely a historic victory, which happened right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's crazy.
Beautiful thing.
Very much so. So let's move into the same region on the same side of the bracket. The next huge upset was Buffalo beating Arizona, and they beat them by about 20 points or something like that.
That hurt, man. That hurt my bracket. I ain't gonna lie. That one really hurt. I had Arizona going to the Final Four.
As I did as well.
So that one hurt me a little bit. I think, you know, Buffalo was, you know, and the same with the game that we just talked about before. I think a lot of with these teams that you've never really heard about. I think shock value is also kind of, you know, something that is being shown in this tournament, because a lot of these teams, you know, you can watch them on tape, but if you really don't know much about them, if you never played them, if you never seen them play, you know, that's going to play a factor in you know, how you face them. So I think this is another one that, you know, no one saw coming. You know, and this is, you know, a game that, you know, was kind of heartfelt on my head.
Well, I didn't see it coming, but I will say this. I'm really not surprised. I'm more surprised about Virginia, but this is the reason. Because Virginia is a veteran-laden team. Like, they have a lot of juniors and seniors. This Arizona team has a lot of freshmen and sophomores. DeAndre Ayton is a freshman. And, I mean, to Arizona, well, not to their credit, but, you know, just to say that, you know, they've been through a lot in the last month. You know, Sean Miller, their coach, had to step away for a game in regard, you know, with all this swirling around with the NCAA infractions, or you know, him trying to give money over to you know, get money for DeAndre Ayton, the ESPN report, and then
scandalous.
The scandal. You know, and we talked about that on a previous podcast. And those are young guys. And it's hard for young guys to deal with all that. They got into that game. Buffalo, to me, it seemed like they were hell-bent on winning that game. Like, they came out there to win. Like, they wasn't playing any games. They were ready. And, again, in that tournament setting, it's one and done. If you come out there and you're not ready to play, like, you're going to go home. And that's what happened again. Actually, I'm kind of kicking myself for picking Arizona to go to the Final Four, because again, I you know, we sat here and had this conversation in the last podcast, and I told you that you really can't, you know, you really can't put a lot of trust in the young teams, because, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but on the flip side of that coin, Duke has come out and just started kicking everybody's butt.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was going to say.
It's crazy.
It's you know, we talked about that, and you can see that, you know, that's happening for some teams, but then you have some other teams and players that are freshmen that are really stepping up. For example, Jordan Poole from Michigan hitting that you know, that game-winning shot against Houston.
Definitely.
You know, you mentioned the Duke guys.
Yeah.
All those guys. Those guys are looking very great, and they're actually playing my team. The underdog Syracuse right now.
Oh yeah, you and Syracuse on social media. Oh,
yeah, boy. We wasn't expecting
Syracuse in the race to 60.
That's another tournament.
My God. I mean, can I see tournament. 70 points, please?
Please, let's not get started about your Tar Heels, man. You talked about the veteran team. But we'll get to them. But you know, just to stay on topic, you know, that Buffalo game. Buffalo, basically, they just punched them boys in the mouth.
They did. They
straight punched them boys in the mouth. They pushed the pace. I mean, they're an underrated team. They actually have a really strong, really good team. You know, they were beating those guys off the dribble. They had them confused in transition, and they just out-rebounded those boys. Again, I think the will is really showing with these underdog-type teams in this tournament.
Yeah, and I think this is just this tournament, and I believe the tournaments for the past couple of years, it just has shown that, you know, these mid-major teams are getting really good players.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting really good players. Of course, the one-and-done thing has something to do with it, but, you know, we've talked about that in the past as well. But I think with the one-and-done and with a lot of these young players only staying a year and then moving on, I mean, a lot of these teams in the tournament, I mean, you have the upper-level teams with the coaches that are able to get one-and-done players. But outside of those particular teams, a lot of these teams are, as far as talent is concerned, are on the same level. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, a team may say, you know, Buffalo, or a team may say, like one of the teams that we're about to talk about, you may have Loyola. I hope that's right. It's getting tongue-tied here. Of Chicago on your chest, but hey, you know, they playing these teams like, you know, Miami, Texas, and with these guys with these other names on their chest, but it's coming out that the quote unquote smaller teams are winning. So I just think it shows that, and I don't even think, some people would say that the talent level is diluted. I don't think it's diluted. I just think that there in this country today, I mean, it's just a lot of great basketball players, and can't all of them play at these, major, they call them, I believe it's, group of 5 conferences. Can't, it's only, they only have, 15 scholarships, I believe?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Yeah. And 12 play?
Right.
So, I mean, guys get left out all the time. They go to these mid-major programs, and the tournament is the time to shine. They show out.
Yeah, well, some of these guys are definitely showing out, guys that you haven't heard from teams that you haven't heard from. Just to give an update, one of the teams that I did call, Loyola Chicago.
Hey, I have to give it to you. You did call it. You did call that one.
They actually just won their Sweet 16 game against Nevada.
Oh, so they're
going
Nevada.
to the league. Yeah, they beat them 69-68, boy.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this Loyola Chicago team, it's they don't have those supreme talented guys, but they're just gritty. They're tough, and they play as a team, man. Nevada came out, they were gunning. They had them down by 8, I believe at 10 at one point. And then right before the half, Loyola Chicago came back, and they ended up pulling out the victory. Like I said, I called them. I must say, I want to give myself some props because this is probably one of the first shows. But I called them going to the Sweet 16. They beat my expectations. They're actually headed to the Elite 8.
Wow. Well, hey, Mad Dogg Mike, I have to definitely give you credit on that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely give you credit for I can't even say it.
Loyola, man.
Loyola, I can't say it, man. Loyola, man. Chicago moving on. But hey, congrats to them for getting by Nevada. Actually, Nevada has 2 guys, the Martin brothers, that used to play at NC State.
Yeah.
They had a very tough game and pulled a game out against Cincinnati in the round of 32. So, but much props to them for moving on. So, we were going to talk about, how they pulled off the game against Tennessee. But hey, Tennessee is in the past now. They've beaten Nevada and moved on. So again, I just think, like you said, that's just another illustration of the talent level that we have in college basketball. And again, these teams that are able to keep their players for 3 and 4 years, when you get into the tournament, they've been through so many different situations that, they get into these close games, these tournament situations, and they're able to pull them out. So, and which was the reason why I thought my Tar Heels were going to do something in the tournament. But, I just think at the end of the day, they just ran out of gas. We talked about matchups in the last podcast, and they just ran into a bad matchup. I thought they were going to be okay because Texas A&M was kind of like they were kind of similar to Duke.
Yeah.
Even though Duke has more talent. However, Texas A&M has more experience. Like, their big men were more experienced. Even though both of their big men, I believe, are projected to be lottery picks in the NBA draft. Yeah. But those guys actually have played for 2 or 3 years. I think when Carolina was playing Duke this year, the 2 games they won, they were able to play off of the inexperience of Carter and Bagley III, even though they're supremely talented. Mm-hmm. But they got into this situation with Williams and the other big guy from Texas A&M. And again, I feel like Texas A&M came out like, oh, these are the defending champions. We want to take them down. Yeah. They came out. And I must say, too, though, I mean, Carolina had a horrible shooting night. I mean, at halftime, they were 1 for 17 from 3. So, bad shooting night. Compiled with that they didn't play defense well. I think that they weren't shooting the ball well, affected how they played defense. And then those big guys took advantage of the fact that Carolina basically plays 3 guards, a small forward, and a power forward in their starting lineup. Right. And I mean, all that stuff, came down on them, and they got their butt kicked.
Yeah, that definitely got exposed. Now we are recording here at Treetz Studio on Thursday night.
Treetz Studios.
Treetz Studios, shout out. There's some current games going on as we speak, the Sweet 16. Now, Texas A&M did just lose.
Oh, okay.
To another team that I have gone to the Final Four. I predicted Michigan.
Michigan, okay.
They got Michigan blew them boys out. But
oh wow. Okay.
But just to analyze the Texas A&M Tar Heel Carolina game real quick. Size. It was the size. They definitely got exposed on that. Those big boys they were just too much to handle for that Tar Heel team, and that's something that I saw. Because just with the Tar Heels, that that losing streak that they had late in the year, that just really didn't sit well with me. But like I said, the size was the biggest difference. They got out rebound. Even though I feel like Luke May, out of all the guys, probably had the best game. He still did not have a good game. I mean, all those guys, they just, I don't know what was going on with them. I thought that they would have no problem with Texas A&M. I thought they would have more of a problem with Michigan. But they didn't look like themselves. I don't think they just weren't ready to play. I don't know what was going on. But, the shooting was something that was really showed, and on both sides, Texas A&M had a great shooting night.
They did.
So I think they shot 52% from the field, which is, over half, which is really good. They Carolina only shot 33% from the field, so you can't have that win.
Well, I think it was a snowball effect. It was a snowball effect. I mean, they came out in the first 5 minutes. They played pretty well, and then they just got cold, and they couldn't knock any shots down. That affected their psyche, So they couldn't hit any shots, so they started slacking on defense. And then Texas A&M, they started hitting a couple outside jumpers. Their big man got involved. I believe the other big man's name is Davis. Williams, and then the other big man's name is Davis. He got involved and started taking over. And Carolina's a small team. Roy Williams, the coach for Carolina, he'd done a good job all year kind of skating around that.
Small ball played really well for them.
Yeah, I mean,
Just not today.
And listen. I mean, 2 years ago, they lost the national championship on a Hail Mary 3 to Villanova. And then, last year, they were able to gut out a victory against Gonzaga for the national championship. So, me as a Carolina fan, I mean, I'm good. I mean, I thought they would be able to do more, but I mean, right now, even though we're not going to have any further chance to defend the championship, we're still the defending champions until they crown another champion. So, hey, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm good with that. I'm happy to watch to see what else is going to happen. You've already told us about Loyola. Defeating Nevada, and then, Texas A&M losing to Michigan. I mean, I can't say that I can't say that I'm too upset about that. Go home, back to Texas. So, but yeah. So I mean, all in all, it's been a very, very entertaining tournament, and we want to kind of, we've already kind of started looking ahead. So we already know. Two teams that are headed to the Elite Eight, Loyola of Chicago and Michigan. So what are your other feelings and thoughts in regards to what's going to happen moving forward in this tournament, Mad Dog?
Well, I'm going to stick with my teams, but let me just give some updates real quick. I'm giving updates, as things are going on. I'm really looking into, these tournaments. And right now, Kansas State is beating Kentucky 33-29 at the half.
Okay.
And Florida State is tied up with to Gonzaga with about 6 minutes in the first half.
Okay, go Seminoles. Still ACC. I mean, I root ACC except for Duke, so it's all good.
So again, I'm going to stick with my teams. Again, I like Syracuse. That's my team. I'm glad that we were doing well. They've actually beat out my expectations. I had them. I actually had them losing to Michigan State in the round of 32. Yeah, but they were able to pull that out. So I'm happy for them. That Duke game, Duke is just too much. I have to. I have to be.
That's a bad matchup.
That is a bad matchup. I feel like, we're underdogs. We are, look past. So,
so it's we now. It's we.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we had like 10 episodes. I ain't never heard this man say nothing about Syracuse. Is it we?
Yeah, that's my team.
Oh, okay.
That's my team. I said it last time about Carmelo and how we won the championship and he did all that. Bro. Yeah, that's us. That's us right there. Yeah, that's us right there.
Go Orange.
Yeah, go Orange. Okay. Yeah, that's right. John Wallace, Derek Coleman, all them guys,
John Wallace. Okay.
Come on, act like you know.
Oh, okay.
Act like you know.
But I know John Wallace. I don't know John Wallace. I don't know too much about him.
But anyway, I don't know if we can beat Duke. I had Duke get into the Sweet 16. I'm still going to roll with Villanova. That was the team that I picked in the beginning to go all the way. I'm still going to look at Michigan. Kentucky may be looking like a easier road for them, but I don't think there's not an easy road for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Villanova to go all the way. I did have them going against Arizona, but of course, that's out the picture. Kentucky may be able to sneak through if they can get past Kansas State, which they're losing by 4 right now. I have Michigan going to the Final Four. So, Villanova and Michigan is still alive. We'll see. Purdue's still in there. I believe Kansas is still there, right?
Yes.
Kansas is still in there.
They will be playing Clemson. Another ACC.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Clemson actually looked pretty good.
I did say, you shot me down. I did say that Clemson might win 1 or 2 games. Clemson, I don't know. I don't know about
you can
Clemson.
Have that one. You can take that one.
But listen, I took an L. I'm going to tell you, I took an L. My bracket is trash. I was very upset about it. But, it is what it is. Agreeing with you, I did have Villanova making it to the Final Four, even though I didn't have them winning it. If they continue to play like they played against Alabama, I know their Sweet 16 matchup is was Virginia. But, the game was kind of competitive in the first half against Alabama. But then, they came out in the second half and started knocking down threes. It was crazy. So, I definitely see Villanova still making it to the Final Four. Again, I am a Carolina fan, so Duke is not my favorite, but I am, when I make my analysis, I try to be, I try to be above board. I kind of see if Duke continue, from what I've seen, my only issue with Duke, and we've talked about this earlier, was just that they're so up and down because of their youth. But
I don't think that's an issue anymore.
But that's what I was saying. That's what I was about to say. Is from these past 2 games that I've seen, it seems like Coach K has them, ready to go. Ready to go. They're knocking down threes. The big men are doing what they've been doing all year. So, I think right now I see Duke, because I have no, Kansas to me, they're not as bad as Virginia, but them and Virginia live in the same neighborhood. Like, I don't have any trust in Kansas to do anything. So, I see Duke coming out of that end. Michigan, what we have in the Sweet 16, we have Michigan has already beat Texas A&M, and then we have Florida State and Gonzaga.
Predictions? You giving predictions?
Well, I thought I wasn't, but I'm feeling good right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna say who I think. Obviously that means nothing. You know what I'm saying? So don't put any money on what I'm saying, people, because if you would have did that for the last podcast, oh my goodness. So, but no, I don't really that West bracket. I'm not sure. Either one of them. Michigan is already.
We got Michigan. Yep. And
either one of those teams can come out of there. I'm in the South bracket. I'm gonna go upset. I'm gonna say Loyola of Chicago makes it to the Final Four. I'm gonna go upset. They're going. I'm saying that Loyola of Chicago is going to be the George Mason of this tournament. George Mason made it to the Final Four. I believe that was in 2005. So that's what I'm gonna go with. But for the ladies and gentlemen at home, this is just for entertainment value. Please don't put any money behind what I'm saying, because if you see my real bracket, you can't see it, but it's full of a bunch of X's Cause it's trash. Really?
Boo.
Really? Oh,
shout out to Sister Jean too for Loyola Chicago. She giving them nice prayers over there. She's the team chaplain, you know. So shout out to Sister Jean. Shout out to Sister Jean.
Definitely. So yeah. So that's what I'm looking at. But I mean, this has been a tournament for the ages. It's been very, very. Very entertaining. I see it to be very much more entertaining with these games that we have coming up, games that are being played now, and games that are will be coming up. So we'll have to see what happens, and we'll definitely be back to discuss with you how it all falls out.
So we're gonna continue with our song of the week. Our song of the week is brought to you by Treetz Popcorn. Treetz Popcorn has over 21 flavors of popcorn serving the best hot dogs in Fort Mill, South Carolina. They serve the Nathan's all beef hot dogs. They have cotton candy apples, and the funnel cakes on Fridays and Saturdays. I think I'm gonna have to go out there this week, man. I'm gonna have to go out there this week, man. My mouth is buttering for that.
Listen, you can get any kind of topping that you want on funnel cakes. You can get the cherries. I mean, he does all kind of whatever type of topping you want on the funnel cakes, you can get on the funnel cakes. So you definitely have to check that out. They have all different types of popcorn, salt and vinegar. He has a Chicago mix. He has a Carolina mix. If you don't know what those are, you need to Google them. I can't get into it right now, but you need to check that out, man. He had Patrick Young and Treetz. He has whatever type of sweets. Take your kids down there. Your kids are doing good in school. Take your kids down there. Go to Treetz. Get them some sweets so they can run around for the afternoon and have a wonderful time. Definitely.
Get them hyped. Also, Treetz is at 857 Stockbridge Drive in Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Fort Mill, South Carolina.
857 Stockbridge Drive.
One more time.
857 Stockbridge Drive in Fort Mill, South Carolina. Check them out.
There you go.
So our song of the week is, and also Patrick, I'm gonna be hitting you up, man. Hook me up. Our song of the week is coming to you. I know we had a Mobb Deep special last week. We're gonna stick with that theme in honor of Virginia, Carolina, Arizona. Shook Ones, Part 2.
Well, let me just say, before we get into the Shook Ones, I just want to say, in honor of those teams, we usually try to, with our song of the week, we usually try to different genres, different artists, but we had to go back to Mobb Deep with the Shook Ones because, these, in honor of these teams, they were shook,
I'm proud of you, man, for,
hey man, I got I love them, but hey, if you don't come out and perform, they were halfway crooks. They were, they were scared to death, scared to look. They were shook.
They were shook. Ones Part 2, coming to you by Mobb Deep, our song of the week.